So what are you proposing, councillor? What's the alternative?
Mike?
What are you proposing then?
Until, Madam Chair, I'm not proposing anything at this stage. I'm proposing that we do not go along with the recommendations at this point until at least we've seen where the actual designations are, and we get some assurance also, if you're asking, that the East-West Link project will not disrupt or the Onehunga rail network and the corridor to Auckland International Airport, because as the Mayor has pointed out, whatever the board of NZTA or AT have said, they are not the final authority on this one. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that wasn't a question. I think what we might do is take that as one of the speakers to the recommendation. I just want to check, are there any other questions before we go?
I've still got a question about, and I just want to know this. With the Northern Corridor upgrade at Rosedale at Constellation, New Zealand Transport Agency have put out a consultation document to the community once they kind of got some ideas and drew up what they were going to do. Has that happened with this this idea? Because the first thing that I saw was what their proposal was, but I haven't seen, and I know that they did consultation, but that consultation was pretty wide-ranging, and I remember going and meeting Councillor Crum at a consultation that New Zealand Transport Agency had at Onehunga. But since they've settled on and landed on this one route, have they then gone to the communities and got some feedback in relation to what the community's views are on this one route?
Yeah, there's one this afternoon from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and that's one of 5 that are coming up.
So it's happening.
And Chairman Randall and I have sat in no less than at least 5 community stakeholder consultation forums of one form or another. There's been a lot of consultation.
They haven't analysed their returns yet for that work.
Well, yes, they have, which is why we've got the preferred route before we get the preferred route.
Okay. So before we get back down that foxhole of debating the merits and the details, the discussion today is about the process, and we just need to be clear on that. So, Councillor Crum, did you wish to speak to the recommendation? Sorry.
I think I just said the comments right then that I wanted to say, which was really in answer to some of what Councillor Lee has just said. Is querying whether this is should be fast-tracked, I think, is extraordinary, given how non-fast-tracked freight is gridlocked sitting there on Nelson Street, and the extraordinary contribution to this country's GDP represented in this this area. Well, it's just nothing short of extraordinary, and so we do need to get some progress here, and there is very much the wide consensus I'm picking up for a Board of Inquiry process, and there has been significant community consultation, as I just previously outlined.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crum. Councillor Darby, speaking to the recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Councillor Crum's right. It's a real life truckers' road. This one. This is all about freight, and I'll come to that. But look, it's also in our Auckland plan. So we're in a difficult situation here because Council has actually identified this as one of 3 big transport projects, along with the CRL, well tracked on that, and the additional harbour crossing.
It's rail to the airport.
Well, I think it's actually 3 that are actually in the Auckland plan, in that category. But and Councillor Lee is correct that it's not a road of national significance, so get those words out of it. It's in the accelerated package, and the government are deeming it a significant project within that package. But, you know, like the CRL, and I say this after we had our workshop a couple of weeks ago, I expect NZTA and all those involved in Wellington to put this project through a very well-torsioned ringer that the CRL went through many times. It was wrung dry at the end to prove itself. We are well short of this even getting sight of the ringer at the moment. This has not come anywhere near the place of building up a business case that supports a 1.2 to 1.8, let's just average it $1.5 billion of public money. And one could say, well, that's not our money, that's central government money. There is our money in there as well, because this has implications for the local road network, and we are required to marry all the local road network in. So we should be keeping a very close eye on this between now and the Board of Inquiry, and I know AT are doing that, and so too is Panuku Development Auckland. So it started out as a $550 million project with a 1.4 to 1.9 BC, benefit cost ratio. It's showing up now as a 1.5, and according to NZTA, it's still got the same BC. Magic. Now, imagine if we had have suggested that on the CRL, if we had have taken inflated numbers and just said, oh, and by the way, Minister, we're doing great, we've still got the same BC. I'm sure the Minister would be saying to us, can you show us your workings for that BC? And of course, we'd be caught out. There are no workings for that updated BC of 1.5 to 1.9. I think they are the numbers. So at the moment, the NZTA actually don't know the benefits and the likely costs that will be delivered by this project. I don't think we should just jump to the conclusion that we've got a very busy road, lots of trucks on it, we need to do something about them. The next item that's on our agenda actually has implications for that business case. It certainly does. And now, while the Metro Port is serving the Port of Tauranga, you can't decouple the Metro Port and the Port of Tauranga's interests from where a future port, megaport, if it's that, might be. Some parts of my reading of this may be a little bit cynical, but this is in some ways, a private road to the Metro Port and from the Metro Port. So I think we need to get our heads around a lot of that, and I'm signalling now, Madam Chair, for the dense work that we have to do to make our submission on the Board of Inquiry. Has huge implications for our Panuku Development Auckland work in our transform category. This is where we want to work the most in Onehunga and Manukau. So this project risks severing Onehunga and Onehunga Wharf, the very thing that we're trying to bind together. So lots of work there to do as well. I'm also aware that there's no urban design analysis, no landscape analysis. We have got a linear line on a map creating a road along a foreshore, the very thing that livable cities that we aspire to be or compete with around the world are ripping out. They're not putting in place, they are ripping roads like that out that go along foreshores. We will, in time, discover the Manukau foreshore. Maybe not there at the moment, but part of it, the Onehunga side, we certainly have. So I'm not convinced that we're anywhere near the detail, but it does need to go to a Board of Inquiry, but we're going to have to do a lot of work on our side before we get there. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Darby. I've got one more speaker, and then I think we'll move to the recommendation. Councillor Penrose.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. And I sit around this table for the last 5.5 years, sometimes quite bewildered, actually, when I see the lost productivity across Auckland, sitting at 1.2 billion 12 months ago, now sitting around about 2.2 billion and climbing. And just yesterday, again, I heard another trucking company that's gone from 5 truck movements a day down to 3. So that staff getting laid off, that's lost productivity again just for one company alone, let alone everything else that goes on. Last September, Councillor Fletcher and myself moved the Mill Road corridor to be a road of national significance / state highway to fast track the process. And, you know, I'd be screaming for that to happen. I take a wee bit of a contrary view to Councillor Lee because I see daily the southern motorway gridlocked and the Mill Road corridor will be welcomed to get moving and get the city on the right track. Whether it's a road of national significance, whether it's a national highway, state highway, whether it's fast-tracking the process, the Board of Inquiry, I don't care what it is. If it takes the government to step in and get the money behind it and to make things happen, I welcome it to get things moving, Madam Chair. So I'll be supporting these recommendations to get things moving in this region. That's what I'm here for.
Madam Chair, sorry, I'm just wondering, we have quite a few people on that B. Should we have the local councillor?
Sorry, councillor, this is just what we're talking about. We're just trying to work out the...
Cast of thousands.
We're kind of work well with casts of thousands. We just have raised the issue of Transport Director and Chair of the Infrastructure Committee being the same person. Not sure if that is,
Good idea.
could be a perceived conflict.
of
It may be an issue. No, well, councillor, it's my job as Chair to make sure that these issues are raised. It's the individual's decision then whether they act on that or not. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making the call. Please don't dismiss the issue that I raise. Sorry, councillor Webster, the
I
floor is
just wondered
yours.
if the local councillor would like to be on there as well as the chair of the local group.
I'm just amused by the situation. We've gone from 5 to 7 and now possibly 8 to look at potential Board of Inquiry members. So yes, add me on. Rather amusing situation.
Yep. Why not? I see
Let's put the
no
mayor
problem
there
with
as
that.
well. Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Where's the mayor?
I just, we've got A and B that have been moved and seconded. We've got the names added in or being worked on as we speak. I'll put that. All those in favour?
By division.
By division. Okay.
Councillor Anai.
Aye.
Councillor Brewer.
4.
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore.
Yes.
Councillor Darby.
4.
Councillor Philippina.
Aye.
Councillor Fletcher.
Yes.
Councillor Crum.
4.
Councillor Lee.
No.
Member Namani.
Aye.
Councillor Penrose.
Yes.
Councillor Quacks.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Member Taipari.
Aye.
Councillor John Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
No.
Councillor Watson.
Yes.
Councillor Webster.
Yes.
Councillor Wood.
Yes.
Mayor House.
Aye. That's carried.
Carried by
okay.
17
Right.
What's that say about us?
We will carry on. Thank you, team. Lots of work to be done on this. So we move now to item 15, which is the proposed national policy statement on urban development.